Hey, everyone. Welcome to my live. Today, I'm going live to talk about the number one launch mistake that new six figure coaches make and how we can avoid it. So, if this is the first time you're meeting me, hi, welcome. I am Chelsea, the launch copy coach. And today, we want to talk about this because I typically help new six figure coaches to create and sustain 50 to 100K group program launches using email, video, and DMs, right? And in this space of the online industry, online business, online coaching, it's really easy for us once we hit that six figure mark in revenue within the course of a year to make this mistake. It's like hitting that goal that we often have. If you're in this space, you tend to have that goal. And it's often the case that hitting that goal automatically makes us eligible to make that mistake. So, like new levels, new devils, right? That's the situation here. We all of a sudden have this problem. And the reason why we have this problem is because we are now asking the question, whether consciously or unconsciously, we are asking the question, how do we replicate this result? Right? We're now here. Yes, great job. We've made it. How do we sustain this result that we've now created? So let me set the stage for you. This is especially applicable for you if you are a new six figure coach. So if you've hit 100K in the course of this year, this video is for you. This live is for you. Keep watching. Ask your questions. I will be here to answer them. If you are on LinkedIn or on Facebook, please DM me the word launch if you want to continue the conversation. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and comment the word launch and I will circle back to you. All right. So let's set the stage. You've hit six figures. You're now here thinking, okay, how do I replicate this result? Let me launch, right? Let me launch again. Let me launch my group program again. And you launch your group program thinking that, okay, I'll hit a goal that's probably higher than 50K now because I'm in a new bracket, right? Like I've now achieved this six figure mark. I've hit a new goal. Let's go. So you launch again and you don't hit that goal. And maybe you've launched a couple times this year before watching this live with me. And you're in a situation where every time you launch, you're stuck at 25K, stuck at 35K. You can't break that 50K threshold into like 50, 60K, 75K, 100K program launches, right? And you are now really starting to wonder, how do I replicate this result that I've created? I've hit 100K. How do I keep going? Right? How do I sustain this? And like I was saying before, it's really easy to get into this mistake. And it's interesting how this mistake can end up manifesting because there are a couple versions of thoughts that can end up going through our heads. Version number one is, yes, I've hit this goal. It's time to launch again. It's time to up level my business, right? It's time to take my business investments to another level. So we really start to say to ourselves, I've done the work. I've made it. I've proved all the people wrong, right? All the people who said I couldn't do this, I've proved them wrong. And I've proved myself wrong because I was wondering if I could do it too. I've worked really hard to get here. Sometimes some of us have even made it here coming from nothing, right? Like we are the first entrepreneur in our family, maybe the first online entrepreneur in our family, and the first one to make this level of revenue. And so it's a huge deal, right? And we're real proud. We're real proud of this achievement, as we should be. So now we're in this position where we're like, okay, I've made it. Amazing. Now I need to up level the business. Now I need to take this business to the next level. Now I need to start to reinvest in the business in a way that will enable me to sustain these results that I've created. We start asking the question, how do I replicate these results? Right? So that's one version of how this can manifest itself. And in those cases, we tend to start to look around and see what everyone else is doing, right? We see, the rebranding happening, new website, new brand photos. We see, people going after complex funnels, evergreen webinars, that sort of thing. And so we start to think, okay, maybe I should implement that in my business if I haven't yet done so. We start to add ads and paid advertising, paid strategies into the mix. We start to really try to figure out how we can take this business to the next level, because we're at the next level now, right? Like, we've hit six figures, we've passed the six-figure threshold. Now it's time to take the next step to sustain and replicate these results. So that's one version of like the thought process of how this manifests. Another version of this is, shoot, how the heck did I get here? Somebody please, I don't know if this is a fluke. I don't know if I can even replicate these results. I don't even know how I got here. I just put out my thing and people bought, and I'm thrilled. I'm happy to be able to serve them, but I don't know if I can replicate this. I don't know if this is like, you know what? I might jig this if I even celebrate it. I might jig this. I might jinx this. So like, let me not even tell anybody. I'm gonna just take a Stripe screenshot and go about my merry way and try to figure out how I replicate these results, because I don't know. I don't even know how I got here. And so that kind of thought process can be really, really really overwhelming and really intense, because you end up thinking to yourself, shoot, I don't know if I can actually do this, right? I don't know if I can sustain where I'm at. And maybe 2-3 months from now, I'm going to be back to hustling, because I don't know how I even got here. Right? So those are kind of two thought processes that might be going on in your head if you are a new six-figure coach. And really how this plays out in our business, and I kind of said it a bit before, is that we start to look around in trying to answer this question of, okay, how do we keep going? How do we replicate the results? How do we sustain what we've created? We start to look around and we start to say, shoot, okay, they're doing this, they're doing that. Maybe I should try this, maybe I should try that, maybe. And we start to think about all the things that we can try, and we start to do a bunch of these things, right? But it's not that those things in and of themselves are bad, okay? They're not. And depending on the business model that you have, they can actually serve to help you sustain these results. But what the mistake is in this case is that we are actually letting our emotions drive our business decisions. We are letting that concern of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I got here. How do I even, I'm not so sure. Or kind of, you know what, it's time to reinvest in the business. It's time to like double down. It's time to really get to work and get this done, because I want to make sure that I stay here. I've worked so hard to get here. I can't afford to not stay here. Let me like double down, buckle down, get this done. Like, both of those sides of the equation lead to your emotions driving your business decisions, because now those thought processes and those emotions lead you to start looking around. It leads you to start comparing what people are doing with what you possibly can do, and you start to try to pull for and grasp at straws, right? You start to try to get the rebranding done. You start to get new get a new website, get new photos, try to do the webinar funnel, try to launch again with this new strategy, and boom, it doesn't go the way you planned. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because we're like, shoot, I don't know how I got here. I tried to make it, like, to do it again. It's not working. What am I going to do now? Or, crap, man, I thought like I worked really hard on this. I worked so hard to get here. And now I'm working so hard on this launch, and it's just not going the way that I planned. Like, what do I got to do? Listen, we are letting these thought processes and these emotions drive our next strategies and our next best business decisions. And I want to take a second. I want to take a second to actually like think about where this is coming from. And I'm going to encourage you to go with me on this, okay? Because oftentimes where these thought processes are coming from is fear. Fear that we're going to lose everything that we've created up until this point, right? That we are about to end up in a position where 2, 3 months from now, we're back to hustling. Fear that this was just a fluke. I am a one-hit wonder. I am not going to be able to replicate this and do this again, right? Fear that I've exhausted my audience getting here and now I got to go work real hard to find new people. Fear that you are going to get called out as just another coach who coaches coaches to coach coaches. Y'all, if you can hear my dog in the background, forgive my dog. Right? Like fear of getting called out as just another coach in this space who coaches other coaches to coach other coaches, and we don't need you here, and you're a scam, right? Fear that somebody's going to find out that you actually don't know what you are doing. Hint, none of us do. We just avoid this mistake with what I'm going to tell you in like a couple minutes. But like fear that you're going to get exposed for not really being sure that you know what you're doing, right? Fear that you've worked so hard and sacrificed so much and burnt yourself out in some cases, exhausted yourself in other cases. And now that you're here, you're going to have to work even harder to create the results. All of these fears come up, right? And they manifest themselves in the thought processes that I mentioned earlier. And they manifest themselves in that way. So we start to look around and we start to try to implement the things that other people are doing. And that's why those actions are a mistake. Not because the actions themselves are wrong, but because of where those actions are coming from, right? You are letting your emotions drive your business decisions. And at this level, especially, you cannot afford that, y'all. You cannot afford that at this level. Okay. So, what I want you to really, really think about and understand is that your next best step and how you avoid taking actions from this place of fear, your best next step now is to answer that question: how do I replicate this result? How do I sustain this result with the data and the information that your business already has? Because you've gotten here, right? Your business has gotten you here. Your work has gotten you here. Your business has data and information about the strategy that it took to get you here, the messaging that it took to get you here, and it has information about the capacity and the effort that you expended to get you here. Your business has all of this information. So let that data drive the decisions you make. Don't let your emotions drive the decision. Like, make space for the emotion. Process the emotion, right? Do what you got to do. If you got to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you got to do your morning ritual a bit different, you got to do your mindset routines a bit different. Like, do what you have to do to let the emotion inform you about how you are doing, how you are feeling, what's going on in your soul, in your being, in your body, right? Emotions are information. Emotions are messengers. They give us information. They're really great at that. But they are horrible drivers. They are horrible directors. They will not steer you to where you need to go. Okay? Your data is the best guide. Your data is the best driver. Your data is the best solution to get you to where you want to go. Looking at other people is not going to improve this for you. That's probably why you have launched maybe once, maybe a couple times, and you're stuck not getting through this 50K threshold because you're letting your emotions drive your decisions instead of looking at the data and letting the data inform where you need to go next. Okay? Now, hear me. What got you here, like the action, strategy, and messaging that got you here, are not going to be able to help you sustain and replicate these results in the exact same way, right? Like, you just doing what you did to get here is not going to get you the same result, but it will tell you where to start. It will give you some directions on what you can double down on. That's why that data is so important. That's why we let the data drive the decision. Okay, because it tells us where to look, it tells us what to test, it tells us what directions might be fruitful directions for our businesses. All right, so here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to think about. One, if I'm feeling this kind of like fluke, or if I'm feeling this pressure to hustle and double down on, really trying to get the results, how can I process that? Because you need to process that. And as I said, all of this is legitimate, y'all. You are a baby six-figure business owner now. You're a six-figure business owner, but you're a baby because you are new to this. All right? You are brand new to this to passing and crossing this threshold in business. You've got some stuff to figure out. It's like you walk into a brand new house that you just bought. You've got decor to figure out. You've got like orientation of furniture to figure out. Like you have a lot of stuff that you want to take care of here. Okay, you're new to this. It's fine for the ish to come up, for the emotions to come up, for all of that to show to just show out right now. So, what can you do to make space to process those things? Because that needs to happen. And then on the other side, what do you need to do and where in your business do you need to look to find the data that will give you a direction? Okay. Do you need to go on Instagram? Do you need to check YouTube? Do you need to check your email list? Do you need to check Pinterest? Where do you need to go? Do you need to go look back at a spreadsheet with your past launch data? Where do you need to go to find the data that will give you the next best direction in your business? Okay. Those are the two questions that I want you to answer right now, because it's so easy, y'all. It's so easy to get caught up in the thought processes that come out of fear, get caught in the comparison cycle, and then try to implement what everybody else is doing, or to do what we've done before to try and create and sustain, to try to replicate and sustain the results that we've created up until now. And it's not going to get you to where you want to go. I'm telling you that now. I'm telling you this from experience with my own clients. It's not going to get you to where you want to go. Okay. So, your next best step, how do you avoid this mistake of taking all these actions out of fear and letting your emotion drive the decision, is to look at the data. Give yourself the space to process the emotion and look at the data and let the data tell you where you need to double down. All right. If you want some help in figuring out where you need to look to find this data, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. Go ahead and DM me the word launch. If you are on LinkedIn, if you are on Facebook, shoot me a DM. Just say the word launch. I'll know that you came from this live and we can have that conversation. All right. If you are on YouTube, comment the word launch below and then we'll talk about this. All right. But it's so crucial. It's so crucial that you take these two steps to avoid this mistake, because what can happen is you keep launching and you keep launching and you keep not hitting the goal. You're wondering why this isn't working, right? And you have completely disregarded the because it's almost like you're throwing all your work out the window if you ignore the data. You don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. You are cutting your legs from under you if you ignore the data that has gotten you to this point. If you just do the same thing, you won't be able to sustain the result. But the data tells you where you can start, what you can start to test. All right. So give yourself the space to process the emotions so they don't lead the conversation, so they don't drive your business, right? And start to look into the data. I look forward to hearing from you in my DMs if this really resonated, if you want to continue the conversation. Have a great one today.